Dell, and I don't know whether to call you Dairy Queen Doug or Woody Dairy Queen. Anyway, it's Doug
I
up in
don't.
St.
It
George,
doesn't matter.
Utah, that works hard to do the newsletter. And the only problem I have with the newsletter is there's no notice of what's on special at the Dairy Queen, Doug. So, man,
I'm sorry, buddy. It's so rare that I get over there anymore. It's too freaking hot outside.
look. Don't even go there. I happen to know that you have your own stool that says Dougie on the back. Come on.
Yeah. Okay. All
And
right.
and you don't go there. All right.
Hey, we want to start off this morning. We're going to start off with an update on Lake Powell and Lake Mead. And although, these updates don't mean a whole lot on a daily, sometimes even weekly basis, what I want to bring to mind here is that back in May, all right, there was a proclamation that said, essentially, from the federal government, it will delay the release of water from one of the Colorado River's major reservoirs. Now, I don't need to go any farther than that because what they're really talking about is they're going to reduce the flow of water into the Colorado River from Lake Powell. If we look at the graph that's on the screen right now, you can see back in May where the water started piling up again in Lake Powell. Pretty obvious.
Yeah.
If we look at the Lake Mead water levels since May, it continues to drop. Now, you and I both know that the Colorado River is a sport fishery area for sure. But the problem here is at some point, these two reservoirs are going to equalize in terms of below normal below intake levels. It hasn't happened yet, and they haven't restricted power like up at Page, Arizona yet. And I think that's the reason on May they decided to hang back some of that water so that they could keep power going into Page. Well, like we were talking on the show, what about Vegas? Some point, this is going to be a hit to the chin for those living in Vegas and below the Colorado, the dam, Hoover Dam.
Yeah.
It's going to have a huge impact, not just on water, but on power. So, next year, and I think this is what they're kind of forecasting, in 2023, all hell is going to break loose.
Well, I think we're getting probably closer to that than we realize. The Imperial Valley, Yuma Valley, you and I have been there in our border investigations. 93% of the vegetables that are consumed in the lower 48s are grown in that region, and we're out of water. And Mexico's already kicking and screaming, well, we're not getting the water that we deserve. Well, guess what? You get what you get. You have a pro rata share of the water that is available. So what we're seeing is preparation to fire up the huge desalinization plant in the Yuma sector. And, for irrigation, and I don't know what we're going to do for human water consumption. I know, and I'll get you the numbers, see if I can retrieve the numbers. I have it someplace. But millions and millions of gallons are being forgiven and not taken out of that watershed to help Lake Mead by the city of Phoenix.
Right.
Which is problematic. The less water they take up from surface water, the more groundwater we take, which is impacting the overall water table and the ability to store water underground for future use. So, like you say, this is going to get ugly. I think it's going to get ugly sooner than later if these guys will get their head out of wherever they keep it, in the closet, let's say, and
You're being nice.
I'm trying to. It's difficult.
I know.
It's difficult in this geopolitical time that we live in.
Well, we'll keep tabs on it, Don. Probably once a month or so, I'm going to look at these numbers again and see where we stand compared to the previous cycle, how we're doing.
All right.
Okay?
Well, let me give you one other little tidbit.
Yeah.
Aside from the federal government, and we don't know what agency that is at this point that wants to delay the release of water, and they're trying to wash it like they're doing something good. My best guess is the pressure's coming from the left. The humpback chub that was on the endangered species list below Glen Canyon Dam. The somebody, it rhymes with Subaru, Starbucks slurping slobs are afraid that the smallmouth are going to get out of Lake Powell, which they are, get into the Colorado River and start chewing on the humpback chub. And my comment is, so what?
Yeah. Yep. So what is right. I agree with that.
Yeah, well, it is. I get it. There's a place in the ecosystem for the humpback chub. There's also a place in the ecosystem for smallmouth. And the only ones that really haven't earned a spot and that are taking up too much oxygen are the antis on the left side, on the green side. So, just saying.
Well, yeah. We need water to drink. I agree. Well, let's move on. Around the country, we're going to talk a little bit about first, as we mentioned on the show, and I'll mention also what Commissioner Guggenauer had to say about this. But in Utah, they're proposing a 10% increase in license permit fees due to inflation. Now, James said, nope, that's not going to happen in Arizona. But he also commented that the consortium of states, western states, are considering this, to start raising fees. Just to let everybody know, our economy is taking a turn for the worse.
Well,
we're going to see it on our fishing license and hunting license.
Well, that's true, and that's the inability of these states, Fish and Wildlife. You have a DWR up there, and I don't know that that's a conventional game and fish department as such. It kind of reminds me of a Department of Natural Resources. But
they use the word wildlife.
Yeah, I get it. But here the problem is, Arizona kind of takes the lead on being innovative. They've come up with ways to create new profit points to subsidize the income or the budgets. We have a large working. I think our budget here in Arizona is $143 million, which is the biggest budget we've ever had. So, in order to supplement that budget, they've come up with creative ways, meaningful ways for the constituency. And he's talking about the bonus point program, point guard we call it. That's he doesn't like the term insurance policy, but basically what it is, it's a $10 fee that I gladly pay to protect my bonus point on my elk hunt. Should I not be able to go on that elk hunt, and I can turn my tag back, let somebody else use the tag, I keep my bonus point for next time. And last year here in Arizona, that created over $1 million of income, which reduces the need to raise the game tags and licensing tag. So, there's a lot to be said about the way these different states. I'm not picking on Utah, don't misunderstand me, but they need to start thinking outside the box and get some marketing people involved, which is basically where I have issues with Arizona Game and Fish Department. on the way they're going, but the marketing strategy is good. It's working. They're kind of getting away from the game and fish and getting into watchable wildlife and all these kind of things, which is another point that I'm going to make. There's an awful lot of people that enjoy what the hunters and anglers pay for, and that's viewable wildlife. That's wildlife conservation. That's habitat conservation. That's hauling water and protecting the species. We have over 800 species that we manage here in the state of Arizona. And those that go out and hike, nothing wrong with hiking. Those that want to go out and watch birds, nothing wrong with that. Want to go out and enjoy the outdoors, love it. One of my favorite pastimes. They need to pay their way. They don't pay their way. They don't kick in with hunting licenses or fees or this, that, and the other thing that makes them able to go out and enjoy what they do and not pay the price. So,
right. No, good point, Don. Very good point. All right, let's take another shot at what we're talking about here. And let's see, in New Jersey, just a point of interest for people who live in New Jersey, the Garden State Outdoor Sports Show has been canceled until next year. And also want to note,
why?
You had something to do with the COVID situation.
Oh, geez.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah. Pour the Kool-Aid. Okay, keep drinking the damn Kool-Aid. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. In Colorado, this is not something everyone doesn't know, but I'm pointing out as something that's just kind of ridiculous. In Colorado, the Game and Fish Department there put out a post that said what to do and not to do if bitten by a rattlesnake. Well, you know, a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about this new anti-venom pill.
Nice.
They're talking about, coming out with. It hasn't come out yet, but if you went to this link, it's unbelievable the steps you got to go through to be careful and what to do and what not to do, where nobody in their right mind's ever going to, out in the woods, after being bit by a snake, if they happen to be by themselves, remember to do these things. That's the issue. You get too complicated with these rules and steps.
I don't know, Doug. I don't know. One of the problems, you're making a valid point, but the overall big picture, education is the key to a lot of things. Let's take boating safety classes as an example. Here in Arizona, paddlecraft or self-prepared vessels, be it an inner tube, a canoe, or a kayak, or a waterboard, whatever you want to call them, don't have to be registered. So here we have a situation where we've got people that don't necessarily have the education. They're putting themselves and everybody else at risk. And my point, tying back to the rattlesnakes, is if you're going to be outside and there's snakes there, you need to sit down and you need to do some self-discovery and educate yourself on what you need to do in the event that you get bitten and injected with snake venom. I mean, it's just, Doug, it's like, it's boating safety, gun safety, this, that, and the other thing. It's snake safety.
It's like what you should do in the case a cougar comes up and grabs you.
Yeah.
If you're out hiking, or a grizzly. I mean, I don't care what the animal is. They're all animals of the wild. And if you're not, like you said, self-educated, you're in trouble if you ever get hit.
Yeah.
No question about it.
Well, I appreciate, I'm going to go look at that and see what Colorado has to say. Because, down here, snakes are problematic. Worldwide, they're problematic. You look at some of the other places that we don't have near the quantity of venomous snakes as other parts of the country, but good grief.
Yeah. Yeah, our issue here is rattlesnakes in various couple forms. So I get it. We have the same problem up here too in Utah.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Just one or two more things we want to talk about. I am going to discuss. All right. There's a segment that I put out there on the battles ahead for the Second Amendment. Now, this surrounded legislation where they want distributors, aka UPS, and various other carriers, to self-legislate the packaging and transportation of gun parts. Now, to be more specific, what they're asking these companies to do is, as it relates to ghost guns, making your own parts and then shipping them. Well, all well and good in that regard, but the 3 or 4 Democrats that are recommending this fail to mention the fact that, well, this just leads to monitoring and legislating all gun parts, regardless. They don't specify it in this particular case for these companies, but that's what's coming. Another bite out of the proverbial elephant, you might say. Second Amendment.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, that's just the way it's happening. And lastly, there's a lot of other things we could talk about, but there's one more. A note. California. The California Department of Fish and Wildlife awards first funds from Qualified Cultivator Grant Program. Now, what this says in a nutshell is they are going to funnel monies to cannabis growers, not directly to those growers, all right? But they're going to allow these grants to go to designated cultivators. They're going to allow them to go through suppliers and promoters of the cannabis program that in turn forward that money over to these growers. So it's kind of a behind the back type of thing that's going on to help these growers grow more cannabis. I don't get it. That's California, boy. That state is just totally out of control.
Wow.
Lastly, Don, on the humorous side, this just blew my mind. This one graphic, actually, I think Jan sent it to me. There's a graphic there of where what's her name? I can't think of her name off the top of my head. Come on, Doug.
What are you talking about? AOC?
Yes, AOC. I'm sorry. A reporter is asking AOC in a humorous way, I guess, the way this cartoon goes, what's your opinion of Roe versus Wade? And this sounds like a Biden thing. Well, her response, those are the only 2 ways immigrants can cross the river.
Thank you.
I love it. I just love
that would be AOC. Here's a pragmatic view question of the obvious. One of my least favorite politicians ever, least favorite person on the planet sucking up too many oxygens is Representative Omar from Minnesota.
Yep.
Here's the question. How does Omar amass a personal wealth of $83 million on the salary of a congresswoman?
If you're asking me, I don't know. I don't have a clue.
I think there needs to be an investigation into her. Every one of these damn politicians.
Well, is that any
starting
different
with Nancy Pelosi, as a matter of fact?
Oh, well, you got to look at Joe Biden, his son.
Oh, that's a special kind of weasel right there. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, no question. Well, let's wrap it up. That's it this week.
Okay, well, good job on that. We'll look forward to see what happens on next week's newsletter. It's good. If you haven't signed up for the newsletter, you may do that, and we encourage you to do that at huntingfishing.com. Go to news and click the news icon drop-down menu, and it will guide you through the process. Doug, great job, man. Appreciate it. We'll do this again next week.
All right.